Hello viewer, warm welcome to Elimu TV where you watch and learn. Welcome. Today we're going to learn about forces in the uptake of water. The topic is still under transport. I am the teacher, Madam Christine Okot. Welcome. So let us have a preview of what you're going to learn today in this lesson. So first we're going to review the previous assignment. We're going to look at the structure and the function of the xylem tissue. We're going to look at the forces which are involved in the uptake of water from the roots. And lastly, I'm going to give you an assignment. So let us start by reviewing the previous assignment, which was on question 1. How does the number of stomata on the surface of the leaf affect the rate of transpiration? We had discussed earlier on the previous topic. So the more the number of the stomata on the surface of the leaf, the higher the rate of transpiration will be. Why? Because there are more openings which are on the leaf surface through which the water vapor can escape. So the stomata is the opening by which the water evaporates. So if the number of the stomata are more on the upper surface of the leaf, it means there's going to be an increase or a higher rate of the transpiration. The second question, how are the leaves on dry areas adapted to minimizing the loss of water? So these plants which are found in dry areas, they are called xerophytes. For example, we have a cactus here. You can look at the structure of a cactus and you can try to see what are some of the things or how the plant is adapted to minimize the loss of water. So this is how it's adapted. For example, you look at the features and you look at the reason why it is made in that way. For example, the organisms which are found in dry areas, they have a thick waxy cuticle. This helps in reduction of evaporation from the epidermis, which is the upper layer of the leaves. Then the leaves have small leaves, they're like spines. If you look at the illustration here, you see those projections which are needle-like and what we call the spines. So they are the smallest surface area for evaporation. So they reduce the loss of water through their spine-like structures like needles. Then they have few stomatas which are on the leaves. So this helps in the reduction of transpiration, or it helps in the reduction of loss of water. Then the stomatas are sunk in pits or in the epidermis. So this one also helps the reduction of transpiration. Then lastly, the hairs around the stomata or over the whole leaf surface. So there are hairs which are around the openings, the stomata. So the layer of humid air trapped near stomata, it helps in reduction of transpiration. And in this case, we are specific looking at the stomata, because the stomata is where the most water is lost. So it has very few and sunken stomata that help in to reduce the water loss from the plants. So let us look at the structure of a xylem. Remember, a xylem is a tissue which helps in the transport of water from the roots to the other organs in the plant. So a xylem is a specialized tissue which is modified to carry out the following function. It carries out two functions. First, as we have said, it helps in the transport of water and mineral salts from the roots to other parts of the plant. So this water is needed mainly for photosynthesis. Then it also helps in giving the plant a support, and we're going to look at as the reason why we say xylem helps in the support system of the plant. So that is the structure of a xylem. The walls are strengthened with something we call the lignin, which is a very hard and rigid substance which is found on the cell walls. So that is why the leaves, the stems are very strong, because they have this substance we call the lignin, which is a strengthening tissue that helps them to be stiff and to become rigid. Still looking at the structure of the xylem vessel, it is made up of two modified cells. So we have the tracheids and we have the vessel elements. We're going to look at each of them. So that is a structure of a xylem. We have those holes that we call them the pits. Then it's made of the vessel element and the tracheids. Those are the main cells. Then we have the xylem, which is made of the parenchyma cells. So we have the two tracheids and the vessel elements. They are the main components of the xylem vessel. So the function of the tracheids, it helps in supporting, it supports the plants and helps in the transport of the water. The vessel elements, they are also specialized for water transport. Then we have the fiber cells, which are also specialized for the support system in the plant. So let us look at each of these cells first, starting with the tracheids. So tracheids, they are made of dead cells. They have very long, elongated and tapered end walls. Tapered means that the ends are very narrow. If you look at the illustration, we have the cell wall there. Then the upper part, it is very narrow. That's how we refer it as a tapered end. Then their walls are reinforced by a strengthening material which is called lignin. So lignin, this is the strengthening material that helps the plant to have the rigid and the upright posture. Then the walls are made of tiny pores which are called the pits. If you can try to locate the pits in our illustration, down there you have the pores, they are like holes. So those are what we call the pits. Then the tracheids are arranged end to end and side by side. So the water passes from one tracheid to another through the pits. So the holes are the ones which help in the passage of water. The other structure, the first one was the tracheid, so the next one is the vessel element. Just as the tracheids, they're also made of dead cells. So this one is a continuous long tube-like structure which are continuous from the roots to the leaf. Remember, the xylem vessel is the vessel that helps transport the water from the roots up to the leaf. So it is made of a continuous long tube that stretches down from the root to the leaves. Then there are several of them which are also found side by side, just like the tracheids. The walls are also made of the lignin material, just as the way the tracheids are made of the lignin material. And the main purpose of this lignin material, it makes them strong and rigid to give the support to the plants. So that is an illustration showing the xylem element. It has the pits and the perforated plates. Remember, we say the pits help in the passage of water. So that is a structure of a vessel element which is found in a xylem. So there are various forces that helps in the uptake of water. So from the soil to the roots up to the leaves, the water it undergoes some forces that helps it in a continuous uptake of water. It becomes like a circle. When the water is evaporated, there will be need for more water to be absorbed from the roots. So let us look at these forces that helps in the uptake of water. First, we have the capillary force. So this is the ability of a liquid to flow in a narrow space without the assistance of or even in opposition to external forces like gravity. Like the law of gravity says, it's like when a substance is up, it's supposed to fall down because there is that pull towards the center of the earth. Now, capillary is in the opposite way. So if you look at our illustration here, we have test tubes which have different diameters. One which is very narrow, another one is slightly narrow, and the other one is larger. So which of these two tubes water is going to rise at a faster rate? It is surely going to be on the tube which is very narrower, because the water is going to come in with a lot of force because of the diameter is very small. So the water molecules, they have the ability to cling to the surface of the tube. We're going to look at that force that helps the water to cling to the surface of the tube. It is also a force that helps in the uptake of water. So the water rises more in a tube which has a smaller diameter than one which has a wider diameter. So if we compare the tubes with the Xylem vessel, the Xylem is also a tube. It's a tube-like structure. It is very narrow, and water rises because of the strong forces of attraction between water molecules and the cell walls. So the Xylem vessel, being a narrow vessel, it helps in the uptake of water. So capillary force is one of the forces. Let us look at the other forces which helps in the uptake of water. First, let us compare. If we have that tube, look at the diameter, it's very wide. Then you look at the second set of tubes, the straws, they are very narrow. Now, between these straws, which one will be easier when you are drinking Coca-Cola? So it's of course it's going to be the narrower tube. So that is just the same like when the Xylem, they are very narrow. Therefore, the capillary force will help in the uptake of water from the roots to the leaves where they are needed for the process of photosynthesis. So let us look at our second type of force. It's called a cohesive force. This is the action or property of like molecules sticking together. We can also say cohesive force is the attractive force that exists between molecules of the same substances. So the keyword here is attractive forces and molecules of the same substance. Let us look at an illustration. For example, I have two elements, molecules here. One of them, the first one, shows the cohesive force because they are going to stick together. They are molecules of the same substance. In the second tube, there is no cohesion which is observed because these molecules are not going to stick together. They will just remain the same. So in tube A, there is cohesion force. In tube B, there is no cohesion force. So another force which helps in the uptake of water is the adhesive force. So this is a force of attraction between and like molecule. So there's a difference between cohesion and adhesion force, as in our diagram. Cohesion is the attraction between like molecules, and adhesion is the attraction between unlike molecules. Now, how is this prohibited in the uptake of water? The cohesion force, it helps in holding water The cohesion force helps in holding the water molecules together. Then the adhesion force pulls the water towards the walls of the xylem. So these are two forces. The cohesion helps in holding the like molecules, which are the water molecules, while the adhesion force will pull the water towards the wall of the xylem. So the water molecule is different from the walls of the xylem. So this is where adhesion force is prohibited. Then the water is transported in plants through both the forces, the cohesive and the adhesive forces. So these forces, they pull water and dissolved minerals from the roots to the leaves and to other parts of the plant. So these two forces will help the water to be pulled from the roots to the leaves or to where the plant needs this water. So by them joining hands, they help to prevent the column of water from breaking. So it's just like a tug of war. So when that rope is held together, it's prohibiting, it's showing the cohesion and the adhesion force. Forces which are coming together, which are of unlike molecules, and forces which are of the same molecule. So that is the third force. Then the other force is what we call the pressure root. So this is the force in the root which continuously pumps the water out of the plant. The pressure that holds up the column of water against a pull of gravity. So we're going to show a video that helps us to understand what a root pressure is. So for you to conduct that experiment, you take a potted plant, then you pour water, then you attach a U-shaped tube and you tie a rubber to it. So after some time, you'll notice that the water level will rise from the initial level which it was to a higher level. So this means there's a continuous uptake of water regardless of if the stem or the upper part of the plant has been removed. So that is what we call a root pressure. So there is accumulation of solutes in the xylem or in the tubes increases the osmotic pressure. So let us remind ourselves what an osmotic pressure is. We can either define it as a pressure which is exerted by the flow of water through a semi-permeable membrane separating two solutions with different concentration of solute. Or we can even define an osmotic pressure as the minimal pressure which needs to be applied to a solution to prevent the inward flow of water across a semi-permeable membrane. Remember, osmosis is linked with the semi-permeable membrane. So, when the osmotic pressure of the sap in the root increases, it will always cause diffusion of water into the root. Then this will increase the pressure, and the pressure will also make the roots, it will cause them, the water, to have a upward movement, a quick movement of water. So this is just a breakdown of what happens. So first, there's accumulation of solutes. Then we have an increase of the osmotic pressure. So an increase in osmotic pressure leads to an increase in the rate of diffusion. And an increase in the rate of diffusion therefore also leads to an increase in pressure, which also leads to xylem uptake of water. So there will be more water which is being taken up. The fifth force that helps in the uptake of water is what we call transpiration pull. So this is the process by which water moves up the xylem due to evaporation of water in the leaf surface. So looking at our illustration, so transpiration pull is just like a cycle of water. So water enters the roots here by the process we call osmosis. Then there's transpiration stream, it pulls water to the stem. So the water will be lost either by evaporation or will be used for photosynthesis. When this water is lost, there is need to replace this water. So by replacing it, it forces the water to be taken now from the soil now. So it's like a cycle. Uptake of water, it is lost to the environment or it's used for photosynthesis, it is replaced. So it's just like a cycle. We can compare it like, for example, in human being. When you are dehydrated, there will be need for you to take up more water so that you can replace the water which has been lost. So this is the same to the plant. When they lose the water through transpiration or when they use it for photosynthesis, they need to replace this water. That's where the transpiration pull comes in. So a summary of what happens in transpiration pull. So as the water evaporates from the surface of the leaf, that is through transpiration, osmotic potential difference is created between the cells of the leaves. So the xylem will run down for more uptake of water so that they can replace this water that has been lost through transpiration. So this ensures there's a continuous uptake of water from the soil to the leaves and replaces the water that has been lost through transpiration. So this is just like a cycle. So uptake of water, it is lost to the environment or it is used for photosynthesis, then it has to be replaced. So that has been our lesson today, and before we leave, I'm going to leave you with an assignment on what we have discussed today. First, draw a labeled structure of a xylem vessel. Question 2, state the forces that help in the uptake of water from the root. So remember, you can SMS your question, you can send us your feedback, your questions, anything you need clarification on. Our SMS number is 40007. Our Facebook page is Elimu TV, and our Twitter handle is @Elimu_KE. Thank you very much for watching. I have been your teacher, Madam Christine Okot.